It is 83 days to the 23 general elections. Good afternoon and welcome to Standpoint. I am Ademola Lawrence. Nigerians are preparing for the 7th consecutive general election since the return of democracy in 1999. The 2023 presidential election has been described as a defining factor of Nigerians, and that the outcome will either pull the country back from the brink or push it over the cliff. Depending on who emerges the next president, the presidential candidates are moving around the country for campaigns, selling their manifestos to Nigeria as we count down to the February 25th, 2023. And of course, joining me via Zoom to talk about this and all of his plans for Nigerians is the presidential candidate of the both parties, Sunday Adenuga. Mr. Sunday, good afternoon and thank you for joining us here.
Thanks, Demola, for having me. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So let's start with this. You are the national chairman of your party, and at the same time, the presidential candidate of your party. Do you think this is healthy for a party that is not yet well-grounded, that doesn't have structure in or have any elected position in the 774 local government of the federation? How do you see? Do you think this is very healthy for your party?
Yeah, it's actually healthy, Demola. And the point here is this: the urgency of problems facing Nigeria's today and its future require radical and immediate change. And that's why we've encouraged Nigerian voters to vote because of our tomorrow party. Vote means because of our tomorrow. And clearly to the question you've asked, the Boot Party is the only party in Nigeria that mandates its leadership at the national state and all the states where we have structured to ensure that leadership are coached. So our members and leaders are not just there as figurehead or someone just plucked from the cloud. Instead, we've been coached in the act of leadership. The first responsibility of any serious and political organization should be coaching people for leadership. So the question is this: who are those best positioned to actually lead the country? There are people who have gone through, who have used the political structure to understand, to relate with people. The last time, our leaders in Bayelsa, even when they are not contesting some of the election, they went around helping people in the communities that were affected by the flood. That's a mark of leadership. So if tomorrow comes, because the person is a chairman of party in the state, who is the best person to lead? They are the one, not just anybody coming from nowhere and just want to be president or governor, and they don't really have transferable skills. So we need to really look at our political process and see that the best way for people to emerge or find themselves in public political offices is to have actually demonstrated to Nigerians that they've been able to lead political parties. We've seen problems in some other parties in Nigeria. They can't even organize themselves. And yet, Demola, the question you asked me, I'm sure you won't ask any of those people. But the clear thing is that if you cannot run a party, if you cannot organize the party, how can you even organize the country? And that's just the point here. So the position I hold today as the national chairman of the Boot Party, we have our candidate in Lagos who is running for the governorship of Lagos State. He's not a leader of the party, but he's been in the party for a very long time before he emerged as our candidate. So we have mixed bags. So it's not really like, oh, it's only when you are a party chairman at the national level or you are a party chairman at the state level that you can become the governorship candidate or presidential candidate. But in this case, we really feel strongly that it is those who have actually demonstrated quality leadership. It's my interest, Demola, that in Nigeria, parties are not funded. I always tell people, a typical political party out there is not different from your Ebialata or any other association that I have there. The difference is that we can put leaders into office. So we run ourselves. We find funding for ourselves. We use our hard-earned resources to be able to put the party together. And that requires a lot of skill. So if you've been able to demonstrate these at the party level, I think it won't be a problem to use public resources in a frugal way and in a way that is going to make Nigerians to benefit from the prosperity that comes from this type of leadership systems that we have brought on. Yeah.
Okay, so you talk about structures. Your party was, of course, established after the 2018 general election. So your party, basically, in 2019, you established your party. Do you believe in this phrase where they say structures are the only thing that can win elections, knowing fully well that your party was just...
Yeah, it's true because let me put it in a simple way. I think that's my own part of strength, to be able to explain some technical issues to people in a very simple way. When they say structure, this is what it really means. To win election of national significance, even at state level, the way our states are constituted in this country, you cannot just sit somewhere in Djibouti and just think you want to be governor of the state without extending your tentacles to people in Egba, Yewa, and Odre. And the same thing with Nigeria. You can't just sit down somewhere, maybe in Yenegoa, and you want to be president of the republic without extending to Daura in Castina or Numa in what's it called, Adamawa State. So you have to be everywhere. But how is it possible to be everywhere as a single person? So you need people who believe in your message and carry it to the grassroots. That's the structure they talk about. So it's not even structure in terms of, we've seen a lot of party claims they have structure, but people, like, I'm being honest with you, they actually don't have structure. Even some of those ones who claim they have structure. They just bring people from here and there and put them together. But we're talking, the message is that you need people to carry your message to the locals who are going to be able to believe in your dream. And this is just what it means. So we have structures. In this election, we're participating at least in 16 states. We're having governorship candidates. And I think it's just in about 3 states where we don't have candidates at all participating in this election. Of course, the main reason why you probably might not be hearing about us so much, yes, we don't have the resources, like I said earlier. We don't have the money bags have the parties of this world, APC, PDP, and Labour parties of this world. The point is this, and I've always told Nigerians, yes, people may talk about structure, but the reality is that the urgency of problem facing our country needs radical and immediate change. And if people are not willing to make that radical change, deviation from what they've known, then we're going to be where we are. So yeah, there is need for structure, but we need to really define what that structure is. People carry your message to the locals, to the people, and they believe in our vision. So we have this, and we're confident in our approach to leadership.
Okay, I was looking at your manifesto, and I saw a couple of things. Of course, very interesting outlines and plans that you have for Nigeria, talking about security and, of course, poverty, how to reduce poverty, and of course, how to improve economy. But let me first start with you on poverty. I'm going to give you the statistics, so I need you to be very attentive to this. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, it says 7 out of 10 Nigerians living in the rural areas are multidimensionally poor, compared to 4 out of 10 in urban areas, which is, of course, saying that 72% in rural areas, as against 42% in urban areas, are majorly poor. So, looking at your manifesto, how do you think you can, what are the plans that you have to lift Nigerian out of this poverty index?
It is very simple for me, the way I look at this. And of course, not simple in terms of implementation. The first thing is the tone at the top. The tone at the top really needs to be right and needs to align with the vision that particular leaders have. The question is this. I've seen many political leaders focusing only on macroeconomics, but you also need to go into the micro. There was a time I was on TVC and I was talking to Uncle Yori. And the point I made, and I really want to make it clear, let's pick an example. You ban Okada. What is the alternative for the people, the Okada riders? What is the alternative provided by government? Practically none. Let's look at GSM, we do recharge card. It might surprise you. I'm a local person. In the last few weeks, I've been in many local areas in Ehamufu, in Enugu State, relating to the local people. 50 naira that you think is so small, it means a lot to a lot of people. So my government is going to focus a lot on the microeconomy, and as well, not ignoring the macroeconomy aspect of things. And these are some of the simple things that could be done. I said it then. Just let's look at an example of GSM. We make recharge card. You remember about 3-4 years ago, if you want to buy a recharge card, you're probably just going to go to nearest shop, and the next thing you're going to do is to buy a recharge card from someone, and that person makes some kobo or some few nairas from. But today you can't do that. Everybody go on their phone and buy a card. Now, and I said, why should this be? It could be, things could be made better, like ensuring that if you want to buy a recharge card directly on phone, probably it should be that, oh, you're paying, you're buying from 2,000 upwards, so that those who still sell those 100 naira, 150 naira, they can still make some kobo. Now, the point is this. We've had successive government ignoring the microeconomic aspect of things where people will be involved. Now, part of my own policy also is this. There are key areas that affect people mainly in terms of poverty. Now, if people cannot feed properly, if people's home, if they don't have house of their own, if their kids cannot be sent to school, if health-wise is not taken care of. Now, my policy is that to make sure that all these key 3 areas, if you look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs, the physiological, if you take care of it, people have food on the table. People are able to send their kids to right school. People are able to go to hospital when they need it, and they don't have to pay a exorbitant rate to be able to achieve it. Then you start having reduction in the poverty level at the rural area. And we've seen cases, increases in the numbers of people who migrate from rural to urban area because we have neglected functions in this rural area. It might surprise you.
Okay, Mr. Sunday, sorry to cut you here. Like I said, the plans that you put on paper are very nice. Like while you're talking, I was listening to you, and you talked about how you were able to implement those policies from whereby the people from the rural area will be able to have access to some basic things that normally should improve the life of the people. Do you think that this current administration do not have that policies, or is it a challenge of political will to implement those policies rather? Yeah,
it's the tone at the top. I said it earlier. It's the tone at the top. If you're implementing change or you want to implement a vision, it's clear that you yourself, who is the bearer of the vision, you must be able to have a clear idea, not just about just having a vision. How are you going to go about it? Like the example I've given to you, it's very clear that myself, I need to know what's happening. You must be relating to people. The last time I was telling our governorship candidate in Lagos some days ago when we were having a meeting, and I said, there are ways I make sure I immerse myself in people's life. Sometimes I leave my car around and I just choose to go on the public vehicle. I want to know what people talk about. I want people to know people's experience. But if you don't know, the problem with the leadership we have today, they don't even know how much a bread is sold for. They don't even know how much is a model of bread. I'm not saying I can tell you all of these verbatim, but if you don't know how much food is being sold out there, even you as the president of a nation or a governor, how are you going to provide solution? So the key issue is that when you ask questions about this administration, I think the tone at the top is really poor when it comes to ability to be able to implement some of their desire. And I think, I feel strongly about this, and I always tell people, if you think a government is not doing what you like, there's no point beating around the bush. What you need to do is to vote them out. It's not enough to sit at home and say, oh, I'm not going to vote or something. Make sure you vote them out, and then let them know that this is not the way to go, so that when next they come back to power, they will know they need to serve you. Yeah. So it's the tone at the top is really poor in this administration.
Okay, another part that I'd like to touch in your manifesto is the non-oil sector. You also put that in your manifesto, and I want to, so let's see the statistics now. According to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, the non-oil sector contributed 94.34 to the nation's GDP in the third quarter of 2022, higher than that of 2021, which was 92.51. That is what the non-oil sector, of course, did in the last quarter. But my question to you, do you think that there's a missing link, why we are not, generating, or do you think that we're not generating more?
There is a missing.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, of course. Say what we just said now. Now the point is, since my internet is not stable, can you hear me? Hello.
I can hear you. Go on.
Okay. Now, the point here is this about the non-oil sector. The non-oil sector, it's not even just about revenue to the country. It is going to employ more hands. As it is today, I make some personal commitment. If I go into a shop made in Nigeria, I remember having to put some furniture in the house, and people are telling me buying foreign furniture, or if you buy this Nigerian one, they're going to spoil. I say, I care less. I care less, because what Nigerians don't really understand sometimes is that we all have to be responsible also for what we do. If you want to buy a settee in your house and you choose to go and buy for a one, what means is that someone has spent Nigerian dollar to buy those things from abroad. Now, let's turn it the other way around. If you've decided, let's say you make a decision to buy this one made in Nigeria, it's not just the dollars you are saving. You've also employed people locally. Now, the question is this, and the solution is very simple. We all need to change our attitude to consumption. The Oyinbo people know it for us. They say we have foreign taste. So we need to change our attitude. But however, the point is this: if you are a leader telling people to change their attitude, you need to change first. You need to lead by example. And that's what I'm going to do. I will make sure I lead by example. It's the same lifestyle I've been leading before now that I will continue to lead. That look, unless that product is not made in Nigeria, I carry bags made in Nigeria. I wear sandals made in Nigeria. I wear shoes made in Nigeria. And don't tell me they are not quality good. They are really quality. Just that, yes, you may say, oh, but some of them may be more expensive or something. But the point here is that we need to start buying Nigeria. And that's the message. Buy Nigeria. Once you buy Nigeria, you're going to employ someone out there. And that's the message we're going to drive to people. But it's not just going to be on my lips. It's going to be in my actions. In everything I do, it's going to be in my action. That is only if Nigerian products are not there. That is when I will be talking about foreign products. So, yeah, I think that's just the way I see the link when you say there is missing link. And also, in terms of money to the coffers of the nation, the point here again is this. There was a report that was released some time ago about VAT gap. It's over 2 trillion naira. So what that means is this: there are a lot of government money out there that are not being collected. And the government is not doing enough to make sure that there are a better method of collecting taxes. So the question is not increasing taxes. The time when they increase VAT to 7.5, I'm not saying it's not a good idea to increase VAT to 7.5. In VAT, you need to do as government so that those money that belongs to government doesn't sit in the hands of people. So these are some of the links that are mixing. So the non-oil sector employs Nigeria, and at the same time, if you have efficient and robust tax system, what it's also going to do is going to put more money into the coffers of the nation. Yeah, that's the missing link.
So if you look at since the inception of this administration, they've been so much focused on agriculture. And they've also told us over time that agriculture in the last, how many years, 4 to 5 years, has been one of the sector that has been generating enough money for the country. So my question to you is, in terms of the noise, I'm still back to the non-oil sector industry. Do you think that Nigeria can have a robust economy aside from, we tapping from oil?
Of course, there is hardly any part of Nigeria that is not arable. Yeah, I've gone through length and breadth of Nigeria. If there is non-arable land in Nigeria, I'm not sure it's going to be up to 10% of the land that we have. And you will be surprised, just even traveling from Lagos or Shagamu to Benin, make effort and say maybe you get to Djibouti Junction or you get to J4 Junction. If you see a good road, try to drive about 2-3 kilometers into the road. You're going to see a lot of land out there. But the question now is this: what is government doing to encourage people to go back to the farm? It's not enough to just say, oh, go to farm, or go and tell people, oh, you youth are lazy. That's not the point. There is nobody that they say in Yoruba, who did they put honey in his mouth that is not sweet? The point is not about you telling young people that they are lazy or they can't farm. But what is it? Until you venture, I have ventured into trying to go into agriculture and making sure we plant and we don't just sell the raw material, but we use the raw material. But it's actually an Herculean task if you want to go to agriculture in Nigeria. So what am I saying? The easy to do business index needs to improve in Nigeria. Not even just for foreigners. It has to be improved for Nigerians locally so that they can easily venture into agriculture, into other areas of business, not only agriculture, because in the modern day, even if you want to, you have maybe 100 hectares of land today, you can just buy some implements. And with these implements, you'll be able to cultivate this farm with less manpower. But the point here is that we need as a people, and that's just what I'm bringing to the table. The easy of doing business index needs to improve so that young people, they're going to find it easy to go into business. So yeah, that's it. I'm being told it's my camera. Can you still see me?
Yes. Okay, so
Okay, yeah.
so because of our time, I'm going to take two questions, and please just help me do justice to it. In security and education. First, I'll have to ask you in security. How do you intend to tackle the security menace? Of course, one of the basic thing for any serious government is to secure lives and property. And of course, this issue of security has been on the front burner since the administration of Muhammadu Buhari, since in 2015. Some were inherited, of course, some as a result of how trends change. And of course, things began to spring up in some parts of the country. So as a result of this, how do you want to tackle this issue of security, looking at the different agitations from different parts of the country?
Yeah, it's very simple in my view that insecurity affects everyone. That's the simplest things to know. It affects all of us. But clearly the police and soldiers, they can only stop criminals. And they cannot stop the cause of insecurity. So we need to understand that first and foremost, there are underlying issues, which are mostly social issues that are causing insecurity in the country. Climate change, causing headers from the northern part of the country coming southward because they can no longer feed their heads properly. So that's one part about social change, the climate change effect. But in addition to my rapid economic and development program that will bring prosperity to Nigerians through diaspora, my plan is to create a 3-tier policing system. And I know you can interject me after I've been interjected on this point in the past, when people say the 3 tiers policing probably is not the first time you're hearing it, but probably what I'm bringing to the table is this. You have the community, state, and federal police to deal with insecurity. Now, I'm going to give you some example, and we should not be agitated. We should not be concerned that, once you have police in the hands of states or community, they're going to abuse it. For heaven's sake, we do not only have Supreme Court in Nigeria. We have different courts, from magistrate to Supreme Court, for dispensation of justice. And then similarly, we do not have just president. We have governors, we have assembly members, we have, even if you're talking only about executive, we have president, we have governor, we have local government administrator, and we have councillors. So why do we have these ties in judiciary, in the way we, in administration of government? And we say security, that is a first responsibility of government. Anytime we now talk about three-tier policing, people will be worried. Yes, every human institution will usually be abused, but what needs to happen is that the right person needs to design this type of system. And I think I'm the right person to design this type of system for Nigeria, to make sure that the system is less prone to abuse, because I'm not going to be here and tell you that, oh, whatever I'm going to design is not going to be prone to abuse, because clearly, as you go into the future, a lot of new challenges will come up. But it's my plan is clear three-tier policing, because just like politics is local. The same way is policing. If you do not have a local knowledge of an environment, you might find it very, very hard to police effectively. It's not my theory. It's not like I'm stating something so new. It's just the way it's been in every part of the world. And I think when it comes to stopping criminals, this is what we're going to do. But this is in addition, because even if you implement 3 tiers of policing system, but you still ignore the social issues that is causing people to take on criminal activities, then you're going to continue to have more problems in your hand. So those social issues, like I've said before, making sure housing are available. We've seen Nigerians who've lived more than 30 years in rented apartment, and they've been paying rent. This is abnormal. This is a rigged system. This cannot be right.
Okay.
And something just needs to happen today. So the social system needs to be made right for people, and at the same time, I'm going to implement a 3-tier policing system.
All right. So
to stop criminals. Yeah.
My last question to you, of course, will be on education. And I just want you to listen to the statistics. According to to UNESCO, as of October 2022, 20 million children in Nigeria are out of school in Nigeria, which are, and of course, as of 2001, it was 10.5. What is your program for education? Of course, knowing that education is a bedrock for any country to thrive.
Yeah, and I think, Demola, this is a very germane question. This is very, very important. And this is a message to every presidential candidate out there, that this is really disturbing. And if I extend your statistic, currently, I think the world just eats 8 billion projected human population. Out of those 8 billion, Nigeria is 220 million. And what's scary is this: by the time we will have completed about 7 cycles of election, Nigerian population will have doubled. So by 2050, Nigeria will be about 450 million. So if we continue with this trajectory, we're going to have more young people, more children out of school. And do not be surprised. 1999 was just like yesterday. So sometimes when you tell people about 30 years away from now, they think that it's going to be forever. No, this is really concerning and disturbing. And my plan is this, and this has been one of the problems we have as a people. You know, when you look at my manifesto, it's a system in itself. So each of the policy interlinked together. The educational policy that I have is to underpin our national development. What we currently have, the reason why we turn out graduates that are not developing our country the way we want is because the education we have provided have not been able to help the young people to be able to find their footing in the world they belong. Rather, today now we talk about JAPA, and where do we go from here? So we create human resources for the world, and we are the one losing from it. So clearly, the focus has to be from the primary education. More funding is clear. Education, there's just no 2 ways about it. There will have to be more funding to primary education, to secondary education. But primarily, when it comes to shift in what you've known before now, I think in my life experience, I've worked a bit in the education sector, and I think I can talk more about this. Now, what you will find that is disturbing is this in Nigeria.
You can do that in just 30 seconds. I'll be very happy.
Yeah,
you can just do that in 30 seconds.
Post-secondary educations, they are not connected. So what does that mean? You go to College of Education, you can't progress straight to university. Or you go to Polytechnic, you can't progress straight to university. They make it so hard. So my policy, first and foremost, is that this post-secondary education needs to be integrated to make sure that you come from primary, secondary education, you go to post-secondary education, and you can aspire education to PhD level if you want, and also that the education you will receive will support our national development. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sunday Adenuga, the presidential candidate of the Both Party. Of course, we'll still bring you onto the show next time to also give us some of the plans that you have for Nigeria.
Thank you.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be back with more stories on what is happening across the nation on the presidential election. And of course, that will be talking about APC. Thank you for staying with us. We're still talking the 2023 presidential election. I have joining me via Zoom the Deputy National Youth Coordinator of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Dr. Nicholas Felix. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to have you on the show. Okay, let's go straight to the point. Your party has visited over 5 states campaigning and telling them about the manifesto of its presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that is tagged Renewed Hope. First, I want to ask you, how would you rate the acceptability of this in all of these states that you have visited?
Once again, thank you for having me and good afternoon to Nigerians. Yes, it has been great. We started off in Jos. Jos was a wonderful flag off. The people came out in large numbers and the hospitality was great. We went to Imo, we went to Ebonyi, Delta, and the last was Bayelsa. I was actually in Bayelsa. Bayelsa was such a wonderful experience. I must give a shout out to the people of Bayelsa because the hospitality was second to none. So the campaign has been going on very smoothly, very good. You know, there's no complaint at all.
Okay, so the youth demographic, so I'm going to give you some statistics on, because we want to talk about how youth will be voting in this election. The youth demographic has been touted as a major deciding factor in the upcoming election, as INEC's figure seems to back this theory. Do you think that your party can swing the youth to their side, looking at what is happening on the social media, the conversations that have been happening on social media?
Yes, certainly. Like I said, and like I've always said, I'm excited seeing the youth coming out. I've been an advocate for youth getting involved in politics. So seeing the youth coming out to vote and hoping soon we'll have the youth on ballot also. But I'm very confident that the youth are going to vote for our candidates. As the Deputy National Youth Coordinator, joining forces with the National Coordinator, Governor Yaya Bello, we're going to mobilize the youth to vote. What are we looking at? For me, it has been very important that we have the next president must be somebody who is very youth-friendly. That is what I'm championing. That is what I'm advocating for. And that is what I'm telling the youth. We're not just going to vote for any candidate. We're going to vote for a candidate that we know will listen to us, a candidate that's going to have youth representation in his cabinet. And looking at the record and looking at the 3 leading candidates, it's not just what they are doing now or what they are saying now. We're looking at the history. Who has been among these candidates that you can see identify youth, lift young men up, you know, put them in political offices, give youth the opportunity to strive and become somebody in the society. And that person is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So it's not just what they are saying during the campaign we are looking at. It's not just what they are promising the youth now. It's how have you been doing this? This is a man who left office years ago and still is the only living candidate you hear people talk about, the people he has raised, the people he has helped, people he has put into political offices. Most times when people leave governorship, they go to Senate. When they leave, they look for minister. But he hasn't done that. Rather, he has been lifting people. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And that's what we're going to be telling the youth. It's not just to have a president, because I do know come February 25th, somebody's going to be voted for. But who is that president that will not just give us SA title? If you listen to my speech during the primary election, I made it very clear that the only title they give to us as youth is to become SA to SA to SA. I am tired of just seeing SA in youth. I want to see youth as ministers, youth as governors. Who is that person with the track record that will give us the space to thrive without suppressing us? I believe that person is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that's what we're going to be selling to the youth. I know it's going to be an easy thing to do, because we're going to be able to pass the message across, which many of them already know.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot. I remember at the campaign ground when you talked about the Muslim-Christian stuff. At what point, did you change your mind, to now stick to the Muslim ticket?
Yes, I spoke against the Muslim ticket from two angles. The first was we currently have the Muslim president. I believe now that the northern governors, the APC governors and the northern governors has helped us by insisting that power must go to the south. I felt not only the south, there should be a Christian president. On the other hand, I changed my mind later on as we go. It wasn't immediate, because I began to ask questions. I'm a pastor. I represent the Christian community. And as well, of course, as far as you're in Nigeria, as a politician, I represent you. But in this case, for the sake of balance in faith, we had to fight for that. Again, like I've always said, every Christian who is angry out there, you have the right to be angry. However, like they say it's in Pidgin English. Let me use Pidgin English so you understand. They say, I weigh the Christ, did a zero. So in as much as we're angry, we have to be able to understand, why did Asiwaju choose his running mate, Shetima? I began to ask questions. I began to understand his person. First of all, this man is not a religious bigot, because one of the reason Christians are concerned is the myth that has been going on that they're trying to Islamize Nigeria. So we needed to find out, is this what this man wants to do? I discovered this man is not that person. This is just a political calculation that he needed to pick somebody of this faith to be able to conquer and win this election. So if that be the case, then there's nothing for us to be afraid of. What I've been saying to the believers is, we cannot just leave APC. APC is not a Muslim party. We have governors who are Christians. We have senators who are Christians. So this is not about just leaving the party or leaving the candidate. Since you want to win this election, and this is how the mathematical calculation you have come up with, we're going to support you. What then do we get? Maybe we start placing our offer, making demands. Let the next SGF be a Christian. Let the next Senate president be a Christian. This we can do instead of just running away. For me, the moment I knew that this is not a man who wants to turn Nigeria to become an Islamic nation. When I sat with him on the 22nd of September, that's what I asked him. Sir, is this what your plan is? I remember what he said to me. Have I Islamized my home? His wife is a pastor. The children are pastors. So the children are Christians. So this is not about Islamizing a country, trying to Islamize Nigeria. This is just about the political calculation. So what we as Christians need to do now, don't use, if you're not supporting Asiwaju for many other reasons, I understand, but let it not be that because of he's a Muslim or because he chose Shetima. Let's come up now and discuss. I'm glad he met with him. Let's play demands. Let's begin to ask for other things that will balance in his administration. So as soon as I got that, as soon as that was made clear to me, I had to jump on board and support him.
But some people don't actually agree with you, and one of those persons is the former speaker, Dogara, who, of course, the news was yesterday that he and some other northern leaders from the Christian Forum had supported Atiku Abubakar. Dogara is, of course, is of APC, and some leaders in that particular forum are also of APC. How do you react to that?
This is the beauty of democracy. If everybody agrees with everybody, there will not be a need for election. And anytime there's an election, people always come up with things to say. Just the same way when we were going to the primaries, many of us had so much to say. But they may have their reasons. Like I said, every Christian who is angry out there, I do understand, how they feel. But if only they can take the time to look and consider is this man trying to Islamize Nigeria? If the answer is no, I think the first case is settled. Now we have to be able to come on the table and be able to make demands, to ask questions. That's what I did. And as soon as I was clear with that, I had to put that aside and forge ahead. It's not just about religion when it comes to an election. There's so many things on board. Insecurity is plaguing the nation. Let me make this clear. One of the reasons I'm passionate about Asiwaju is because Nigeria needs a bold president. I don't know about you. For me, Nicholas Felix, I need my next president to be very bold, a bold man, a man who will take some critical decision to service this nation. And I see that man as Asiwaju. He's a very bold man. He's not a man that will sometimes we want to please everybody to do what is right. That's what we need now. We don't need a president who can put out a tweet and because somebody is angry, you go and delete a tweet. When actually what you said was right, was the correct thing to do. We need somebody who is going to speak the truth, who is going to be bold and say, this is what is right. You may not be happy about it, and that's that man. So let the issue of religion not be only, my saying is not important, it is important. As Christians are agitated, Christians are angry. And that's why we're telling them, ask questions, find out, is this about Islamizing a nation? Number two, constitutionally, it is impossible to Islamize or Christianize Nigeria. By constitution, you can't even do that. And when you look at the number, we're almost like 50%. So it is absolutely impossible. And it will be insane for any president, anyone to think they can Islamize Nigeria. So let's just keep that aside. Let's focus on the issue. Nigeria needs to be safe. You go to countries that are not even considered Christian nation, they are safe. We want to be safe as Christians and even as Muslims. So let's start focusing on the issue at hand and not just use religion to cover all. Again, to the Christians who are angry out there, you have every right to feel the way you feel. But let's come on the table and begin to discuss. Don't forget this parable I just said. They say the eyes that cry, the eyes that shed tears also see. While we are sharing tears, let's open our eyes and not be carried away and let people just deceive us into this Muslim and Muslim thing.
Okay, so talking about issues, my producer is going to help me put up these statistics up for you to see. Nigeria currently sits, the unemployment rate currently sits at 33% in 2022. And looking at the manifesto of the APC, the Renewed Hope, trying to say they are going to create 3 million jobs a year. Nigerians said in 2015, when this administration was going to come in, there were a lot of promises that were made. Some, of course, Nigerians said, no, were not met. How do you want Nigerians to trust your party this time around, knowing that the 2023 general election, the presidential election, is very critical?
Yes, truly, this election is very, very critical. It's a very crucial election, and I'm glad everybody is paying attention to it and participating. Now, first of all, let's clarify something. Yes, it's APC. Yes, we are all members of APC. But we cannot forget that a new administration is coming in. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not President Muhammadu Buhari. Asiwaju is going to come on becoming the head of the leader of the party. He's going to have his own team, his own administration. Things are going to change. To think that we are going to get exactly the same thing we got in the first term, it's not going to be like that. Yes, this administration succeeded in some areas and probably didn't do well in other areas. That's where Asiwaju administration is going to look at what area did you do well so we can continue, and the area they may have not done very well to be able to improve. So in as much as it's the same party, we cannot forget that a new administration is coming on board. A man with a different idea, a man with a different manifesto, a man with different history is coming on board. In terms of creating unemployment, if you read the manifesto very well, and with his track record and with what he did in Lagos, I try as much as possible not to focus on that so much for several personal reasons. One way you create employment is not just the government, it's creating an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. And that's one thing I've heard him emphasize so much, talking about giving loans to people, talking about creating a credit system. This is actually the way America operates. And you see people, somebody will say, I have 2 houses, I bought a car. It's not just because they earn so much money. You are able to have the credit system. So when I look at his manifesto, I look at what he's putting on ground, I can confidently say what is there is something that is achievable. It's not just speaking just as a politician. You want to create 3 million jobs in a year. How are you going to do it? By creating enabling environment. When businesses get loans, when people get loans, they will buy cars. When people get loans, the credit system, they'll build houses where they rent and make money. You have to create an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. Anyone without such manifesto who is just throwing number out there, I'll create 10 million jobs, without the prerequisite, without the foundation of how the private sector will be able to thrive, they're going to lie, because the government cannot just hire people because they want to reduce unemployment. So it is this principle of the credit system, how to make it easy for businesses to thrive in the nation. That's why you're going to see the economy begin to thrive. Every great economy must have not just higher class, but middle class. Until we put system in place where the middle class, Nigerians who are in the lower class now begin to move to the middle class, we won't see the economy grow. And these are some of the things you read in his manifesto.
Okay, another point that I like us to look at while we're rounding up the show is the issue of security. It's been on the front burner of this administration. Remember when President Muhammad Buhari was coming in, there are 4 cardinal points that he made mention: corruption, security, economy, and the rest. And of course, the issue of security has been a very, very critical one, looking at the different agitations from the different parts of the country. And your candidate has been going to these different parts of the country. He was in Imo State to meet with the stakeholders there, and was on the news that they donated a huge amount of money for him, 1 billion, which is of course a part of the country in the southeast where they said it might not be able to go. Due to some things that are brewing up in that part of the country, how do you think that your candidate can be able to sit down and have the discussion of these different agitations from every part of the country?
Now, when we speak about insecurity in the land, I'm glad you're asking the question. If you have ever listened to me in my campaigns or every time I speak, you know this is one topic that's very dear to me. And I was so excited looking at the manifesto that our candidate made it number 1, which is supposed to be number 1. He talked about the insecurity in the land, how they're going to fight insecurity. And I've actually taken time to read that aspect of his manifesto just to make sure there are things that are perfect in it. And I could see many of the things that some of us already have as an idea already in that manifesto. When you look at the Southeast and you look at the Northeast and practically look at every state, every zone, every region in Nigeria, you discover insecurity play. So it's not just the issue of the Southeast. Even in the Northwest, the Northeast, there are insecurity. It is one problem and we have to fight it. How do we fight it? Apart from sitting down, discussing with some of this agitation, but when you go to the North, there are not people you can sit down. We don't sit down with terrorists to negotiate. We need to fight them. We need to let them know that Nigeria cannot negotiate with terrorists. How are we going to do that? We have to empower our police officers. I was reading the manifesto even yesterday, reading the area of security. He talked about the welfare of the police officers. There was one thing he also mentioned there that which I was very excited about. Our fallen heroes need to be appreciated. Nigerians don't know how to appreciate police officers when they die in the line of duty. He mentioned it there. I was so glad to see it. So we must focus on the little things in the police force and be able to, number 1, get more police officers, get better equipment. He talked about technology. We can't be doing things now. Our police officers don't have walkie-talkies on the street. When even businesses do, we have to be able to increase technologically, give them better cars. You see our police officers, the cars they use today, they are not even roadworthy. They shouldn't even be on the road. He talked about all of this. So the issue of insecurity just in the Northeast, yes, there's agitation there. I'm believing that as soon as he comes in as president, he'll be able to address that. But that's not all that there is. There is terrorism all over the place, kidnapping, and we need to fight this. And I believe, again, don't forget what I said. We need a bold man as president of this country that will take some bold step, bold decision in fighting the insecurity in this land. And I see that man as Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Lastly, I'm going to ask you, what's your take in terms of education. Education is the bedrock of a nation, and Nigeria is really, really behind in terms of education. What do you think that should be done? Yes, your candidate has laid so much emphasis on how technology will be driven through education, but how do you think we can best achieve this, knowing fully well that the 2023 general election is not just for rhetorics, it's actual work?
I think, in my opinion, and based on the manifesto, education needs to really be revamped, our education system. First of all, we're already below the required amount in terms of the national budget that should be allocated to education. But the major thing, there are so many loopholes. By the time budgets are allocated to education, I don't even think 1% gets to the schools. Because when you look at the billions that are allocated every year, you wonder how come our infrastructure in our schools, universities, they are all dilapidated. No new structures are being built. It's because there are so many blockades, so many loopholes, before so many toll gates. This is some of the things Asiwaju is going to address and make sure whatever is allocated to educations are given to them. And also the issue of strike. They just finished about 9-month strike. There needs to be a standard whereby the schools, the lecturers, the university are taken care of to avoid this issue of strike. And again, the curriculum needs to be looked into. Nigerians are very smart. Are you aware that blacks, when you're thinking about blacks in America, Nigerians are the most educated. God has blessed us in this nation with brains, with strength, with wisdom. But the education system, it looks as if you are programmed to already fail. So that is going to be looked into. But most importantly, the resources that are located to our education system, we need to be able to take out all the toll gates. These are some of the things that are going to help improve the education in this country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nicholas Felix, Dr. Nicholas Felix, rather, the Deputy National Coordinator of the APC's Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.